Good day, everyone. This is Naval, your OLC for Purposive Communication. Now, we are to discuss the lessons for week 11 to week 13. We have two, so let's start with the first one. What is a message? At the end of this module or lecture, you are expected to learn the following: identify situations that use persuasion in argumentation, and second, persuade and argue information. Let's begin. We communicate because we have different purposes. And last time we were able to discuss some of them, or some of the major purposes that we have when we communicate. We have to persuade, to describe, to inform, and also to instruct. So now we will be focusing on argumentation and persuasion as purposes of communication. When we argue, we persuade someone to believe in our opinion or point of view. This is why we tried so much to debate, negate, and persuade. So persuading means to convince someone to believe what you're saying, or to believe that something is the case, not necessarily the truth, but just to sway them towards your direction. Hence, we need the skills in debating, negating, and persuading properly. We can never say yes all the time, especially when we know that something in the sentence is not right, or it quite differs from the idea we tend to believe in. So it is easy to say yes if you share the same beliefs, but if you have contradicting beliefs, how can you say yes to that easily? So it takes a lot of convincing. It takes persuading at its finest in order for you to be swayed towards that direction. It's not really saying yes as in, but being heard or having an open mind. That would matter. That would be depending on how you persuade a person. The most important part of an argument to persuade someone without losing credibility is that we should provide solid and valid evidence. Again, argument. It's different from fighting. When we say fighting, you don't listen to the opinions of other people. You don't listen to their sides. You don't hear them out. You just want to be heard. You push your own beliefs. You impose it on them. Argument, on the other hand, is explaining. You will be able to present your claim, to explain it accordingly, and the other party would be able to do so. Now, you should provide solid and valid evidence. From where? It will come from the references or sources cited in the book. For example, magazines also, journals, articles, and any other printed materials, or published online, because we already have the digital platform because of technological advancement. But this one is very timely. You have to know which sources are credible. There are a lot of fake news everywhere. And you don't have to be gullible. Instead, you have to be critical of the information or the sources of information that you have. Before you believe in something, you have to be very critical. So every day we face numerous challenges, and one of those is when we have to persuade some to change their minds. Situations where we want to persuade include the following. We have 5. Reveal, do, desist, learn, and believe. Let's take them one by one. Reveal. This situation arises when you know someone knows something, but they cannot tell you about it. Perhaps it is a confidential information, so your power of persuasion will be tested here. So in conversation, information is revealed a bit at a time and in a turn-taking format. Now, how do you get someone to reveal about themselves? How do you get someone to open up to you? Here are the specific situations. So we have job interviews. In job interviews, we can, listen to the interviewer and the interviewee. The interviewee. Well, the interviewee or the person being interviewed has this idea that the interviewer only wants to hear what they want to hear. That they should only say whatever they want the interviewer to hear. So you would not get that genuine feel of who they really are. So how do you probe that? How do you do that in job interviews? Also for police interrogations, if someone is involved or being questioned regarding a certain case, how do you probe in this person? How do you get them to say what they know? That would require a lot of skills in persuasion. We have to ensure that they will be safe and that whenever they divulge something, their lives won't be at stake. So that's a very hard thing to do. Next, getting to know someone. When you get to know someone, of course, you don't have their trust yet. It's something that you build over time. So, upon having that first conversation, that small talk, you don't expect someone to open up to you right away. So, it's something that you build. All right, next. Do. The power of persuasion will be tested if you convince someone to do something for you. This is very beneficial to someone who can do this in, certain kinds of situations, but time is always a hindrance. All right, for do. One of the most difficult things as well. You ask someone to do something for you, perhaps a favor. How do you do it? Here are specific situations, say parenting. You know how we see parents ask their children to do something for them? Say, run an errand for them or help them out with something. How do they do it? Managing. When you're a manager, you manage people. You don't only manage operations, you manage people who handle operations. So, how do you ask them to do something for you? How do you ask them? How do you persuade them to do this? To perform this function or this transaction for you. Next, in sales. Well, the bottom line of sales is to get the customer to buy your product or to try the service. To buy, try the product or service. How do you convince them to try it? How do you convince them to buy it? Or how do you convince them to avail of the service? And lastly, we have propaganda. Alright, so during the campaign period, I believe it's ongoing now, there are a lot of propagandas everywhere. It might be good, it may be bad propaganda, but there is one thing at the end of the day that these propagandas want from the voters to do. It's to vote their candidate, right? So they can appeal to the emotion, they can use experts, whatever type of propaganda they would use. Bottom line is, vote for this candidate. So, how do they do it? They have speeches, they also have other gestures, and other persuasion skills are, shown. Their persuasion skills are shown as they prepare these propaganda and present it to get the vote of the people. Next, we have desist. Desist includes the act of telling someone to stop his or her doing whatever he or she is doing. This is the act of making them stop, although this may seem difficult since habit is nearly impossible to change. Your ability to persuade will vary. It might somehow be a new term, desist, but it has something to do with making someone stop doing something. Parenting as well is a specific situation. How do you get the kid or even already an adolescent, a grown up, to stop doing what he or she is doing, being a parent of that person? How do you say, for example, it's a vice, it's something that he or she is already fond of doing or is already part of a habit. How do you get them to stop? What do you say? How do you approach it? Next, government policy, for example, no smoking. Right? What if a person is a chain smoker? It's already part of a habit. It's already ingrained in that person. How do they craft the laws in order for them to follow it and put a stop on whatever they're doing? And policing, of course. Policing is not only for policemen and women. Policing is the act of watching over something and taking control of his or her actions, putting a stop on whatever he or she would be doing, which is against the agreement or whatnot. So when you police someone, okay, you watch over them. Okay, you have to observe their actions, and whenever they do something wrong or not, they're not supposed to do, then you call their attention. You call them out. So it's the act of calling out a person. How do you do it? In a way that they will listen to you. Right? Next is learn. The goal is to impart knowledge and make someone understand something. Okay. How do you persuade them? How do you convince them to believe that this is the case? This is what you're supposed to be getting. For example, in teaching, like this lecture. How are you being convinced that whatever I'm discussing here is correct? Next, coaching. Say you're a fitness coach. Why do you believe you're a fitness coach so much? Why do you follow? Say they have the diet plan, then they have this routine. Why do we follow them? And also parenting. Parents are teachers and coaches in their own. So why do we believe them so much? Or, on the other hand, why do we not believe them? That is something to do with their persuasion skills. Lastly is believe. This one is the most difficult thing to do. Changing someone's belief, such as in religious conversation. Because beliefs are at the base of much of what we assume is true. It's something that we grew up with. It's something that was formed since we were a child up until now. It's an amalgamation of all of our experiences with our environment, with other people, and with our own self-internalization. This makes persuading at this level both powerful and difficult. However, if you can master this, well, you will be good in persuading someone on a general sense. Because this is considered as the most difficult thing to change, the belief of someone. Or even to shake, just even to shake. Situations like leadership. When you're in an organization, when you're a leader of an organization, of course you have the vision, mission, and the goals of that organization. When you are a leader, you need to make sure that your subordinates or all the people under you would share the same vision, mission, and goals. What if someone from the team does not believe the company's vision and mission? That is now the time for you as a leader to talk things out with that person. And that talk will never be easy. But being the employee and you don't share the same goals as the company you're working for, well, the best thing to do is to get out of that system. However, if you want to try, how your leader or how your boss would communicate with you, would persuade you into doing so, would matter a lot. Next, we have the religious or cult conversation. All right, one of the most sensitive things or points for discussion is something about religion. Now, how do you persuade someone to even hear you out and this person has a different religion from yours? How do you do it? I have a simple tip for you. Never impose your own beliefs on other people. Do not even say that what they're believing is wrong, because more often than not, that would initiate a negative reaction from that person. Instead of doing so, instead of imposing, instead of saying that they're wrong, tell them what you believe in, explain it to them, give them the information, and let them process it. Right, so this is what I believe in. Okay, so what do you believe in? Can you tell me something about that as well? So the key word here is respect. However, if you want to be respected, you have to know how to give it too. So it's very important that you listen, not just hear words. Listen has, understanding in it. You hear words, you process it, you listen, you try to understand what they're saying. It's part of keeping an open mind. If you don't know how to listen, you will never have an open mind, and you will never learn about respect. Because we demand this so much. We want to be listened to, we want to be respected. That's why we should also know how to give those things. So never impose, never tell people that they're wrong. Instead, give them, explain to them your belief, and let them process it. So those are the 5 situations for persuasion. Alright, so how do we persuade people to agree to what we're saying? We have some strategies here. Number 1, liking. It is easy to persuade people if they like you. They would like you, well, not really in the romantic way that I'm talking about here, but that could be a factor. But, people would generally like you if you have a good image, if you have a good reputation. So liking someone has a certain level of trust to it. Okay, they have that trust in you. So it's easy to persuade. It's relatively easier, may I say, easier to persuade someone if they like you. Next, we have social proof. It implies that people are moving in the direction that you want. Okay? Implies that people are moving in the direction that you want because you see them siding with you, hanging out with you, and eventually they would invite more people to believe you. That's social proof. Next, we have consistency. For consistency, always keep your word. Be true to your word. Right? If you say this, then you have to do it. If you say this, then your actions should show whatever you said. So it contributes to your reputation. It contributes to your image. Next, we have authority. People are strongly influenced by experts. I am reminded by the toothpaste brand, which is Sensodyne. So it's recommended by dentists. Even in commercials, they're very consistent with that. They don't use famous personalities for their advertisements. So for this, personally, I have this high regard for Sensodyne. Wow, that's recommended by experts versus this one. Though it's quite expensive, but it's as if you're getting the value. It's worth it. So that's how they use experts on that certain field, whatever the product or service being promoted. An expert on that field. Next, we have scarcity. People want what they cannot have. The scarcity is related to snob appeal. Say, this product is a limited edition, and we only manufactured 5 around the world. So, the effect that it has on people, oh, there are only 5 of those, and if I happen to be one of them, I have the edge. I have that certain bragging rights to that. Oh, I own one of the 5. So it's also related to the law of supply and demand. When something is scarce, there are a few of them, the more expensive they get. So it's something that you do to persuade people. Say, oh, this one is a limited edition, or we only have few of this, or until when will this be on sale? Only until today, ma'am. So that's very familiar to us. Next, we have reciprocity. To give something, you have to gain. To gain something, you have to give something. When you're asking someone to do something for you, like a favor, of course, what's in it for them? We kind of make promises to them like, all right, just do this one for me. Next time, I would really cover for you. Tell me anything you need about work, I'll do it. So that's reciprocity. the give and take relationship. Okay, so that's about it for argumentation and persuasion. Again, just a piece of advice: never impose. Just give it to them, explain to them, and you know, they have to process it from there on. Let them take control. Let them have their own interpretation about it. Never impose. You're more likely to be heard if you just explain it to them accordingly with your correct evidences, with your credible evidences. Now let's move on to the next part. We have communication aids and strategies using tools of technology. At the end of this module lecture, you are expected to obtain, provide, and disseminate information using different communicative strategies and, of course, technology. So one way to obtain information is to ask questions using the 5WH and 1H question: who, what, when, where, why, and how. This is the common and the simpler way to get information. But what is the use of communicative strategies to obtain information? When we employ strategy in communication, it creates an easy way for better understanding because the other factors, all the important factors, are considered. It details the message. It gives you an overview of the nature of the audience and, of course, your resource of communication. How are you going to communicate? So in relation to the message, the audience, your resource of communication is also your purpose, of course. So Cohen, mentioned several types of communicative strategies. So it's from the start, or how to open a topic, until how to end it. Let's take them one by one. The first is nomination. A speaker nominates to collaborate and produce a sensible topic. When the strategy is being employed, it opens a good topic with people using it. Nomination is opening the floor for discussion. For example, I now open the floor to discuss about communicative strategies. All right, let's start with you. Okay, what can you say about communicative strategies? What comes into your mind when you hear the word communicative strategies? That is nomination. You open basically a topic for discussion. Next, we have restriction. It refers to any limitation you may have as a speaker. Let's say in that discussion about communicative strategies, you are to strictly use English. Well, being a member of that discussion, perhaps you have difficulty in using the language, so you have difficulty in understanding and also in using the language. That can be a restriction because that can limit you as a speaker into delivering your point across. Next, we have turn taking. It pertains to the process by which people decide who takes conversational floor. The idea, always remember this, is to always give communicators a chance to speak. Turn taking, meaning one person does not dominate the conversation. You don't want to talk to a person who keeps on talking and talking all day long, and you don't have the chance to speak out. Well, if you're talking to this person one-on-one, what more if you're in a group and only one person is speaking, right? So you have to give equal chances for everyone. Next, we have topic control. It consists of procedural formality and informality that affects the development of topics in conversation. So when we say topic control, you have to stick to the topic at hand. You have to give ample time to the topic being discussed so that you can get more information, can process them more, and so on and so forth. So don't jump from one topic to another very hastily. If you're going to do so, there has to be a smooth transition, which will be taken care of by the next communicative strategy. So for topic control. All right. So this is what you said about this topic, about communicative strategies. Now, what would you like to add? All right. Similarly, this is my idea. In contrast, I would like to say this about communicative strategies. So you give all sorts of opinions about that topic. But you have to ensure, as a facilitator, you have to control it. Okay? You have to make sure that you're giving enough time to discuss about the topic. Hence, for a smooth transition, that is already topic shifting. It involves moving from one topic to another. For example, in a meeting, you have the agenda or the list of topics that you need to discuss for that meeting. So upon finishing one item, you have to do a recap. All right, let me just do a quick recap. For item number 1, say, you will be in charge of this and you will be taking care of this. All set? Any other concerns? No more. All right, let's move on to the next item. That's how you do topic shifting. Again, do not jump from one topic to another very hastily and without proper transition, because it will confuse the members. It will confuse the person you're talking to. Next is repair. It shows how the speaker addresses the problems that may be encountered in a conversation. Repair is used if there is already a misunderstanding. For example, one of the members did not understand you correctly. You have the responsibility to rephrase, state it again, explain it in more details, right? Or another person might clarify it for you. So clarifications, confirmations are in this part, in the repair part. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I understood it this way. And then if that's not what you're saying, you can, of course, say your piece again. All right? Next, we have termination. It refers to the conversation participants close, initiating expressions that end a topic in a conversation. Expressions like this would would be under termination. All right, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Have a nice day. Or, okay, are there any questions? All right, it seems that there are no more questions. So I think we can wrap this up. Thank you so much for attending, and we will send you a copy of the minutes of the meeting after. So to terminate means to stop, to officially close the discussion. All right. So those are the different communicative strategies. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 communicative strategies according to Cohen, from the start until the end of the topic or the discussion. So what's the importance of discussing all of these things? Of course, communicative strategies, when you already have a solid idea about these strategies, you may now use your tools. So we have technological tools now because the world has gone digital. So if you know how to start, you know how to control the topic, you know how to repair if there are misunderstandings, even in an online platform like this, communication would still be very efficient and effective. All right? So your idea of the strategies and your know-how on how to use the technology, like this one per se, the platform that we're using, the combination of those two would lead to effective and efficient communication even if we don't see each one face to face. All right? So that's about it. Now this is termination. Thank you so much for listening and have a nice day.